Hello and welcome to the King Heroes Journey podcast. My name is Beth Martins and my mic was muted. So thanks. In case you don't read lips, then sound is fantastic. We were just having a little bit of go around in the back. I think I sent Joel to the wrong platform for some reason. He's given me the thumbs up. So he looks like he's ready to go in a few minutes or 1 minute. And so I will just take a minute myself and introduce, if you're new to the King Heroes Journey podcast, this is a place where I host the brave souls. Those ones, now we think we're all brave souls until you come up against something that's really frightening or humbling or too intense. We're going to talk about intensity a lot. I do have about 100 questions for Joel. If you're not familiar, no, don't be scared or anything, Joel. If you have a time limit, by the way, let me know. And I've had the great privilege of watching Joel be interviewed by many people. At first, I was kicking myself not to have him on sooner, but in fact, it's been fantastic to get to know him through a number of people's eyes. And so this is going to be a really great subject. If you're not familiar with him, you can learn more about him. And I'm going to share out his YouTube channel where he also hosts people for interviews. I am going to be on his channel we're recording for Monday, so you can find him there and on Facebook here and on Instagram here. And if people are in the chat and you want to come and say hello, I would love that. Oh, hello to Rajat Bambatkar. How did I mangle your name there? Hello, Mike New. Nice to see you. Fantastic. I'm glad you're here. He said, keep up the good work. Thank you. I appreciate that very much. Well, I am beside myself excited to talk to Joel today. Oh, Stacy Sunshine is here. Fantastic. Please share this out. Honestly, it's I try not to get discouraged by the amount of shadow banning or whatever it is. I'm not in the cool club or something going on here, but if you find value in this work that I put out. I also, by the way, do Breath of Fresh Air. It's coming up tomorrow already, and we're going to talk about natural health cults, which are very prevalent, and I feel incredibly passionate about sharing about. Hello, M. Nice to see you as well. I'm sorry I didn't get back. It's been going high speed creating stuff. So if you're not familiar with Joel, he is a personal empowerment mentor and shamanic dreaming arts teacher. I'm going to talk a little bit about my run-in with shamanism, which was very short, and I'm happy to have been reintroduced to something that re-sparked me through Joel. Through online courses, one-on-one mentoring, and in-person workshops, Joel trains people in a highly effective way to reclaim vital energy and attention utilizing the Toltec knowledge base. These are powerful nonlinear redistribution techniques that guide and support students in discovering clear purpose, increasing awareness, getting grounded, reclaiming focus, and accessing strong intent. Joel is also an excellent listener and mirror, offering practical but magical solutions to life's challenges. So without further ado, I'm going to bring him on. Hello, Joel. Welcome and nice to meet you.
Thank you. Yay. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it and looking forward to getting into it with you.
Yeah, likewise. It's I bet you've had this experience many times over the last little while where people think or feel like they know you and you don't know them.
Yeah.
I know it very well from my side as well, and I've learned to just roll with it. That they think they know everything. They kind of do in my case because I'm pretty transparent.
Cool.
When I share, and I notice you have been as well.
Yeah.
So I forgot to ask you, do you have a time limit today?
No, we're all good.
Okay, that sounds good. So we usually go, at least 90 minutes, maybe 2 hours. And then, like I said, I do have quite a list of questions. It's stupid big, but I bet a lot is going to come out. I won't have to ask every single one of them.
Yeah.
It's a privilege to be able to talk to you myself because, those resources are there. And I love listening in and taking it in. When I heard you, I had a natural bias. I'll just start by introducing it this way. I had a natural bias against shamanism for two reasons. One is that first, I did actually in university study the work of Don Juan and Carlos Castaneda. I learned that Carlos Castaneda had been given a PhD, and then they tried to take it away from him, but they couldn't find him. So maybe I'll get you to speak about that a little bit. That is of no bearing to me whatsoever, because academia doesn't hold a lot of credibility in my mind. And then I traveled to, or in my university days, I also did a directed study in shamanic initiation. And that was very, very interesting for me. But I realized very soon that I didn't want to just study about these things. I wanted to have the practical experience myself. So I started traveling. I was in Nepal. I hooked up with a junkari, or a hunkari, or I think it's more like junkari actually from that language. And I had one lesson from him. I started to have nightmares. I got scared and ran away. And I ended up going off into, more of like the, say, Vedic side of spirituality for my first run in India, which seemed more manageable. But lo and behold, all of the roads to truth lead to the same places.
Yeah.
So I had this bias until I heard you speak. And I saw how you are coming to, now this is putting myself on a pedestal, but coming to the same truths I've come to from different angles.
Yeah.
And truth is truth, right? So no matter how you come to it, it should be still true. It should still be the same. So thank you for opening this door for me.
Oh, wow. Thank you, Beth. That's amazing. The Toltec teachings are different than typical shamanism, and they're called the learned ones, or the scientists of energy. And they discover that there are truths, energetic facts, and that we actually live in a world where people don't want that to be the case. They want it to be all something you can argue about, and therefore we can all remain confused and separate and not able to just come to a common denominator. And so this is very confronting work to realize that there are actual things that are true, that we can anchor to those truths, and that we can transform because of them. But they're magical. They're not linear. They're powerful, energetic understandings that happen in the realm of silent knowledge. When you're really quiet and silence is present, then you're able to understand things differently than if you're in your mind trying to document or control the information. So that's where the benefit of shamanic training can be very helpful, is you can reach these non-ordinary states of perception where waves of understanding come in, and it pulls you out of hypnosis. But unfortunately, the spiritual community is filled with people that are caught in social power, trying to appear a particular way to their followers, and are unwilling to come out of hypnosis to the degree that's needed. So shamanism's become like a messy thing where people aren't willing to turn and face and come to terms with what's really going on, and it's more spiritual than it is like practical. But the Toltecs, rather than being spiritual, are energetic and practical, and so they are really offering something potent. But even my teachers that followed that stuff ended up going along with all the nonsense. So it's really disturbing that how powerful the hypnosis is across the board.
Indeed. Yeah. And that was one of the things I also share in common, is some history with a cult or two, and gurus and all of that kind of thing. So I'm glad you alluded to that. Just say hello to a few more people in the chat. Thank you. Kai Rahman 11. I always have a hard time with people's names on screen. Joe Potter. You have to forgive me if it looks like I don't recognize you too, because I usually have a real name in my head and I don't hold on to screen names. And looking forward to this, Stephanie. Welcome. He shape-shifted right out of here. Not sure what that was about. The trolls be out. Okay. Does anybody have a wrench around here to help me with that? Because I'm going to want to focus big time. Hello, Maya. Nice to see you. So, there's a troll. Okay, so we'll see if it gets out of control. Normally, I don't even attract the trolls. I feel pretty happy about that.
That's cool.
Yeah. I think that I am so much myself. I don't try to say things that, oh, I won't say this because so and so is not going to like me or anything like that. And then they choose themselves to just get out of the zone because it's too much for them. Hello, Jenny G, nice to see you. And you hand you a wrench. Okay. So forgive me 1 second. I'm going to give Stacy Sunshine.
Yeah.
And hopefully we don't get some sound. There it is. Okay. All right. Stacy, where are you? It's not showing up, but maybe Jenny, would you, if I make you a moderator, add. Okay, there we go. So I don't know, Jenny G, if you're able to help me with that troll. I don't like to call people that, but that's what they're called. Stacy, I couldn't see you on YouTube, which is very weird. I don't get that, but we'll just go on. And yeah, so I love that, the energetic and the practical. If you try to leave the practical out of the situation, then you got nothing.
Right.
Right. Nothing good can come of that. The hypnosis. Do you want to start there and talk about that element?
Yeah, I mean, that's the most disturbing thing, is to realize that we are not alone, and that something has figured out how to lend us its mind. It's higher on the food chain. It makes us behave in ways that go against, our well-being. And so we're dealing with interference. It's very thorough and very focused. So when we're, even when we're asleep, we really have no idea what's going on while we're unconscious in that way, because we're being, challenged in our dreams as well as during our day. And so we want to come to terms with what's going on and get to know the difference between our natural mind and what we call the foreign installation. And it starts to become more apparent the more you start to pay attention. And then it's a little it's annoying and uncomfortable to realize it, but most of our thoughts are not our own. They're just like constant monkey mind stuff that comes through like a radio channel. So it takes real effort and saving of energy in order to be able to turn and face that and get it to stop letting that radio channel come in. And that's where silence becomes critical. And the reason I teach the things I teach is because they're practical ways to get into silence without relying on substances. Most people use drugs, medicine, or whatever to get into silence, but then they're not able to integrate what happened to them, because it's such a big shift of perception that when they come back, everything's kind of chaotic and potentially very dangerous, because you're opening yourself up in ways that are not ideal unless you really are ready for the impact of what power plants can do to you. So the hypnosis is a really tricky situation. We want to come out of hypnosis, but not too aggressively. We want to be careful and come up with a strategy that's going to help us do so without ending up schizophrenic or ending up with delusions of grandeur or getting caught in materialism, or the attention that you might get could lead to you being, your ego getting out of balance and then losing your path entirely. So this is all delicate territory to try to become awake and aware in a world that is designed to program and control us. And so these forces, even when you become really liberated from hypnosis, then they're going to try to use you to create a cult or something so that you are still controllable in a different manner.
Right. Yeah, great answer. There's so much in there. I can't help but asking first around, now you've received a lot of good, positive attention in the last while. I've seen you, really accelerating in your work, which is fantastic. Congratulations. Has that been challenging for you on that level of, because that is one of the lures into that more material kind of existence, if I heard you correct?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very delicate thing, right? So when people have attention on you, there's projection, right? And it's really important to live a life in which you don't have a lot of projection on you, so that you can be inside of your own creative process. and not letting that attention or that projection create expectation. And or so like I've been fortunate to be working with the Castaneda material so in depth that, you know, erasing personal history, losing self-importance, using death as an advisor, all those things become critical to my being able to do this work. Um, and there's real cool tricks that you can keep applying to your life to keep yourself in check. Because, you know, every day everyone is a messenger, everyone is reflecting to you the pitfalls of being here, right? So if I start to fall into a trench of like being a truther or an influencer or a shaman, or all those are just trenches that people fall into. They're like archetypes sitting there waiting for you to like fall into that limited perception of you that you fit into a category. And so my relationship with it is tricky. I just sort of look at it like I can't get in a situation where I'm dependent on this continuing. I'm always willing to go do whatever. Like I'm a carpenter, I can run construction jobs, I can manage big projects. So I'm not attached to being here. And therefore, there's a lot of freedom. I won't ever sell out because of that. But we get lost when it becomes our identity, and then our path of heart becomes our financial piece. And so, like, even like tattoo artists I know, they end up losing their love for their art because it becomes the way in which they're generating income. Or cannabis growers, it used to be fun and lovely and beautiful, and then it became this like dark industry. And so it's really hard. This place is designed for everything to kind of get ruined. And so we have to be super careful and aware every step of the way and not fall into those traps. So I'm very conscious of it. And I'm very much like, but I also being of service and helping so many people, the most beautiful rewards perceptually and energetically happen to me the more people I help. Right. So I'm so thankful for that understanding that to be of service is a real relationship with source.
Hmm.
And if we can all kind of be in a round table where we're being honest with each other about what we see, then we can all help others. But we need community. We need honesty and reflection. And, you know, so I work with mentors that keep me, you know, that help me to get to know where I'm at with my wounded inner child stuff. And that's very humbling to realize that I still am in a lot of pain and that there's a lot of unresolved wounding. I've met people that think they're done with their shadow work, and that's confusing. That's concerning, right? Like that suggests that they're in delusion of grandeur, right? So it's just the Castaneda material is actually so confronting that it's really just to read about Taisha Abelar's experience, or Florinda Donna Grau or Carlos Castaneda, you realize that I'm just I'm just a beginner. I'm a novice. I'm lucky to have such a magical experience with perception 100% in my life. Like I've crossed a threshold that's really incredible and I'm so thankful for. But what they've done, they get to go into other worlds and other visions and have entire experiences that are so profound, and then they come back as if nothing ever happened. They're not needing to tell people. They're just so thankful. So I know I'm just at the very beginning of something that's very difficult to do, but I'm not scared of doing it. So I'm really thankful for the support. I look forward to helping more and more people, but I have to spend more and more time alone and in silence in order to balance that.
Very nice. Yeah, my question was going to be, but you answered it. You know, why did you risk it? Why did you risk the fame and getting out there? And it's the same kind of precipice here. Would you agree? It's like walking a razor's edge to, you know, to put yourself out there to receive the projections that are inevitable, right? That people just do that. They want to project the good on you, and then inevitably there's always two sides
Yeah.
right? The love bombers. I'm like, oh, interesting. You love me now. I bet you're going to hate me in 5 minutes.
Oh, yeah, it's so important to look at. And yeah, as I cross thresholds into more and more people, then the puppeteers grab one of the clients and they turns them against me, and then all this slander and lies, and it's just crazy to watch. I feel so bad for everyone involved because we're all just so accessible in that way. It's so I try to be more discerning about who I work with, but
Mm,
I have a big heart, and when somebody comes to me with a lot of red flags, I really want to. I think, well, maybe I can help them, and it's just really difficult to become kind of ruthless enough to turn people down and to try to figure out how to navigate all of it. But I did get vision of how difficult it would be. My plan was to be private my whole life and to keep working with these psychic women that I was training with as a student. And then when they put on masks and recommended the jabs and all that, I broke my heart. And I just got shown that I needed to teach these things to people that could really benefit, because they're attracting followers and I'm attracting warriors,
mm,
because I'm working within the world in which people are willing to look at what's actually going on, and they weren't willing to turn and look at it. And that just was so disturbing. And I feel so alone in a lot of ways because of it. Like I was deep with them, and they're very gifted in many ways. So all that is just such a difficult thing to come to terms with. And yeah, the challenges that come with this are going to be the tightrope, that I will learn to either walk or not. And it is terrifying and uncomfortable. But what I'm doing is unprecedented. I'm listening, I'm not copying. I've become very capable of being supported by nonlinear helpers. And so the lineage is working through me and it's guiding me. And I'm so thankful to be that much further along in my journey because of what I chose to do. Forcing me to mature and grow up and become more discerning and aware in a way that I wouldn't be able to without this type of rite of passage, essentially.
Very well said. Yeah, I've noticed, if you don't mind my reflection, just such a huge transformation has taken place in the short time that I've been tuning in with you. Like really beautiful trajectory of growth. And I appreciate your honesty so much, because for everybody out there in the, whether it's the new age movement or healing movements or the alternative health movements and stuff like that, and when they say, oh, it's going to be so easy and perfect and all you need to do is this and that and you can have everything you want, and right,
Mhm.
they just sell it like it's going to be this wonderful journey. And frankly, for me, I'm into it for more than 30 years, probably 35 years, and it gets harder every year, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It gets harder. And what you say, I always had the imagination that this work was gonna make me great,
Mhm.
but it's quite the opposite. It makes me like nobody.
Mhm. Oh, yeah, it's very much that's what's needed, is that knowing that you're not needed, and yet but spirit is going to work with you, and yet there's a backup plan, so you're not required, and yet you're part of all of it. You're interconnected. So this whole dance with becoming nothing and empty enough in order to be, truly of service, there's so many layers and different depths in which people are willing to go, and most people have jumped in a little bit and they're claiming to have discovered something. They write books about all these things, and then you meet them and there's just no depth there, because they thought the shallow end was the deep end, and so they got all excited and everybody believes them. And it's like crazy, because they're the ones that tend to get a lot of attention, and that's just because this place is designed, as a means to make sure that the real stuff gets somehow less accessible to the masses.
Exactly. Yeah, I like also your point about being really discerning about who you let into your circles, especially who you work with. I actually teach vetting
Yeah.
for my coaches. Yeah, yeah, so that they, because you can save yourself so much trouble, right? That ounce of pre-framing is worth a pound of trying to pick up the pieces later down the road. And yeah, I got to a point where I was literally discouraging people from doing the work,
Yeah.
to a point too, because everyone has some potential. This was one of the things that I heard you say, that this work is not for everyone, and I appreciate that so much. So who would you say it is right for?
Yeah, I mean, I think when one is really ready to discover the mystery and move into the non-linear and the abstract, it needs to be like a really strong calling.
Hmm.
Otherwise, it's just sort of like could be really ungrounding.
Mhm.
And so I try to help people get grounded as the primary thing, so that they don't further dysregulate their nervous system. And so some people I'm trying to help like really slow down the process, but they're in desperation wanting like a quick fix. And just have to be really honest that this is going to take years. Like you're in a place that doesn't get fixed right away. And some people, they're really advanced and I can help them to just expedite their capacity because they've already done a ton of work. But most people are showing up thinking they've done all this work, but whatever work they've been doing, it hasn't been effective enough to be able to really, claim that they've done the work. And so it's kind of like having to be brutally honest with people. And then they're like, well, why should I try one more thing? And it like, but that's usually right there where they might be ready. If they can show up as a beginner and realize that that's the only way to learn. But if they're like, I've done all this work, then I shouldn't still be here. Therefore, is this going to work? I'm like, I tell people this works no matter what. It's just whether you follow through. And right when it's about to break through, you'll likely walk away because the resistance is so powerful. So this work is actually available to anyone if they have an issue with their job and they're throwing energy at their employer. I can help them. I can save their life if they'll just listen to me. But most people aren't willing to look at their responsibility, their part within their puzzle, and they want to blame and project and be at odds with the world. And I take that away. There's nothing to be at odds with. This whole place is just a reflection of where you are at. And whatever you think is in the way of you being successful has nothing to do with you. I mean, it's not true. You're the only one. And so this is all very energetic work that requires a brutal level of honesty with self.
Yeah, you got it. It was fun when you were saying how most of our thoughts are not our own. And this ties in with what you just said in terms of the willingness to take responsibility. I teach a process based on the work of Lester Levinson, and this is not a new statement. It's practically boring by this point of our spiritual evolution in the popular world, or whatever you want to call it. But it's radical responsibility.
Yeah.
And so, something happens to you, and my paradigm now, not to say I'm perfect at this by any means, and I'm probably going to be tested just for saying this, but it's I get this, well, I did it. And how did I do it? Even though there's some level of, I've been victimized, but what is my part? How am I cooperating with this? What am I running inside myself that is willing to engage with this process? Like, and it wasn't, in fact, Castaneda was the guy who somebody asked him, like, how do you stay safe? And he said, don't show up for the shooting. Was that him?
Well, Carlos was trying to convince Don Juan that he was vulnerable to things just like he was. And so he was saying, well, Don Juan, was trying to tell him how to navigate or how to be impeccable. And Carlos was saying, well, you wouldn't be able to get away from, if somebody was trying to shoot you, then you would, there's nothing you could do about that. And he said, of course I can. I wouldn't come around if someone was trying to shoot me.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for filling in the blank there.
Yeah.
And there, that you know, the magical thing aside from there, and I'm not using that word lightly. I don't use it at all, but that taking responsibility is not the truth, but it is the most powerful tool.
Yeah.
And it helps me to move so I don't have to go through all of my life feeling like, oh, that's not my thought and that's not my thought and where's the intruder and coming at every angle, even though it seems like they are, and probably that is the reality. I'm very naive in that I'll just keep on, oh, that's my thought, and then I'll work with that thought and I'll, hopefully release whatever programming is associated if it's not productive or creative or life supportive and that kind of thing. So yeah, I'm just having fun finding the parallels in our discoveries. It's so cool.
Absolutely.
Let's see, where would I like to go? So what do you think is the nature? This question I doubt we can really come to any fact of, but you never know because your knowledge is deep. What do you think the programming actually is?
I mean, the dreamers that I've talked to that said that they are able to go into the nonlinear and witness things, that are considered past events, is that there is there are inorganic beings that are very powerful and capable of feeding off of us, and that they've created a replica of they created like these replicas of or they didn't mean to do this, but they created something as a means to sort of monitor us and control us, so they didn't have to use much effort, and that thing replicated itself. It was like a program that recreated itself, and then it spread exponentially, like out of control, like within an instant. And that those things are like have taken over, and so whatever created that has lost control of what it created, and we're in a real predicament because of it. It's kind of like I think it's the Fantasia where Mickey Mouse tries to make more brooms in order to clean, or like it creates all these. He was a sorcerer's apprentice and he used magic to do something, and it became destructive because it replicated itself and then it took over. And there's something about that in the world of sorcery, that people that have power end up trying to make things easy, and then that real dilemmas occur. And so there's multiple non-human forces that we are in it, and unfortunately in dealing with as far as spiritual warfare. And I think that it's dangerous to pick one side or the other, that the spiritual warfare itself is a trap, and that there's a way to walk a middle path and to not get caught in all of it. And it takes real discernment to recognize that it's seductive, and most shamans get pulled into that stuff one way or another. So it's just hard to come to terms with that we're being programmed by something that isn't going to go away. So therefore most of humanity is not going to be able to reclaim their attention. It's very few of us that are going to be able to do that. And I don't think it's meant to be different. I think, as kind of dark as that sounds, it's just the way in which this place is designed, and it's in a way really worth it, because if you and I can really make use of this lifetime as a means to become super conscious and aware, then we can discover how incredible humans are. And therefore that 100th monkey thing works, because it gives people permission to unlock the secret of what we are, which is perceptual creatures capable of creating worlds just like the one we're in. But it requires such a deep journey inward that most people would just rather keep the TV on and scroll on their phone and not go into that depth.
Exactly. Yeah, you said that it requires a lot of time alone.
Yeah.
And even with time alone, there's no guarantee,
Yeah.
right? I love what you said about reclaiming our attention. Man, if there's like one boom, I'm sure there's going to be many, but that's a big one there.
Yeah.
And when you talk about inorganic beings, what is that? Is that life as we know it, or something entirely different? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we are, if you read the Castaneda books thoroughly, they go really into the depths of all these different types of creatures that we coexist with that are here right now, but we can't see them and they can see us. When nighttime when it cuts nighttime, then some people can see them, but they're not easily perceived. You don't see them with your eyes, you see them with your energy field perceives them. But there might be like what you think your eyes are seeing as like a sort of a version of seeing, but really you're perceiving them with a different part of you if you're able to witness them. I was introduced to them when I was 16 in the wilderness during the middle of the day. My teacher was so powerful that he was able to, pull something in to help me have my first experience witnessing them. And it was just like energy moving in this weird way, and I couldn't see really anything. I kind of had a projection experience of something, and it was uncomfortable to witness something that wasn't of this world from my perspective. That led to being able to go into the wilderness at night and see these incredibly powerful energy fields, and to hear sounds that they would make. And so they're called entities of the night because that's when they're perceived, and they come out of their hiding or whatever at night as well. And they're seeking interaction. They're not necessarily negative. You could wrestle one down to the ground if you were crazy enough, and it would become a helper that you could use if you were into that kind of sorcery. And then that helper can spy on your apprentices, or it can tell you things so that you don't have to like figure it out on your own. It becomes like this aid that most sorcerers end up using. So there's all kinds of weird ways to interact with these things. Some of them are just shadowy entities that are just parasitic, and they're just annoying, and they can attach to your energy field. There's entities that can come in through dreams that are really that can possess people. I've been a part of many exorcisms, but the reality is, unless you do your own work, that exorcism's just a temporary fix, and that entity will probably reattach. So I teach people how to heal themselves, so they're not relying on shamans to do the work for them.
Yeah, excellent way to go. I'll ask this question first from the chat. How do we fend them off? Do prayers and mantras work? Can Joel recommend his spiritual weapons?
Oh, it's such a difficult thing to talk about. Some people are really into like setting up protection and doing all kinds of rituals and ceremonies, and that can be a really powerful way to learn at a certain point. But I've found that protection like attracts challengers, so that you're almost like creating a spiritual battle. So what I found is that the joy in your life is what protects you. When your life is harmonious and you have a lot of beautiful things happening, then everything balances out, including these types of things. And so a lot of people get into spiritual stuff when they're not in harmony. They're looking for the spiritual path to create the harmony. And then all this fear comes up because they need to go through their fear in order to get to harmony. So it's like not an easy thing to explain, but learning what I recommend is that people do the magical passes, practice recapitulation, and become curious about dreaming, not obsessed or trying to fix or, there's going to be nightmares. That's part of becoming an aware dreamer, but there's also going to be the most beautiful healing experiences in your dream time as well. So it's worth going through the fear side of it in order to get to the part where you become lucid and can have the time of your life. And these entities and energy beings, they're attracted to your emotions. So some people have a lot of fear, and therefore those beings come closer. And some people have like a lot of love for them because they don't know what they're dealing with. And then they end up forming bonds with these things that they don't really understand. And you probably want to have a better understanding of what these things are really about before you form bonds with them.
Yeah, that's really wise. There was a time when I was doing a small project with someone pre-pandemic, and we were doing, it was a goddess thing, and got the Ishtar and all kinds of entities, actually, Mother Mary, Mary Magdalene, all these, and we think we're so romantic about them. We love them. And I had a lot of direct experiences. And amazingly, I was being protected without asking for protection because I was seduced by them, right? It seemed, you call on Mary and there's Mary, and it's this really elevated experience. But I saw through, I managed to see through and realize, like, this is an entity. And me calling on these things is opening me to that.
Wow.
So I was able to shut that down. And so do you agree they come in all kinds of disguises?
Yeah, I work with the earth and the sun because everything else I don't know. Why are you helping me? And what's your agenda? Why is everyone always calling Michael in? Like, what is this all about?
Mm-hmm.
And what is the exchange? And so I'm just curious. I don't claim to know or understand. One of my elders used to make fun of, like white light people and all the new age stuff and all the people working with angels and stuff, because he looks at it like it's a very much like you don't want to get on the light side or the dark side. You don't want to be calling in these helpers. It's kind of like if you go to prison and you have to join a gang in order to get through it. If some way you could not do that, that would be ideal, to just remain sovereign and just work directly to source instead of like a middleman.
Yeah, it's red pill, blue pill.
Mm.
Right? It's in the same exact category, which I'm seeing in Technicolor in so many arenas, like everywhere.
Yeah.
And yeah, they want you to go to the good and go away from the bad, but it just keeps you on the exact pendulum. What I refer to as on the map. I won't go into detail, but our purpose to me is to get off the maps.
Yeah.
That have been provided. So wow, so good. Yeah, the interfering energies, it's interesting. I went through a series of accidents this summer, and I'm not really an accident person.
Mm-hmm.
And injuries, I really haven't been injured. I'm pretty careful. I like to walk backwards a little bit in line. I was going to ask you about contraries and tricksters and all that kind of thing. I have fun walking backwards. Well, one week I hit a truck walking backwards. And the next day I thought, I'm so smart. I'm going to not do this on the road. That truck wasn't moving and I didn't get that hurt at all. So, I'm going to do it in the parking lot in the park. And I fell over a curb.
Oh.
I saw all the side curbs. I didn't see the end curb. And there's like, boom, a couple of people are going like, yeah, well done, like this to me. And then I had a dream that I was driving backwards and I was in the back seat of the car and I was looking sideways at something that was fully capturing my attention. I can't even imagine what that was. It's not a screen or anything. I was very contented. I felt very at peace. And then I looked out the back and I went, I wonder if I should get in the front seat of the car and drive. I wonder if that's a good idea. So it was just kind of an interesting illustration of these. I don't know if you want to say anything about that or what I was even asking about.
Totally. I mean, yeah, it's amazing to learn to do the things like that, like the undoings, the not doings, anything that pulls you out of your typical routines, pattern breaks. So yeah, walking backwards in the Toltec world, one of the shaman students put a rear view mirror on his head and attached to his head and had a rear view mirror so he could walk backwards through the city.
That's what I need.
Yeah. So you're just missing that, and then no more injuries.
I thought that would be cheating.
No, it's actually really psychedelic because mirrors are a powerful tool. When I'm gazing in a mirror and the mirror is reflecting to me like an open window or like a sliding glass door, then I'm actually looking outside through the mirror, and then I forget about the mirror and I'm looking outside and I'm gazing out into the world, and it's no different than if I had turned my body and looked. And so, and then large bodies of water, like huge ponds, like complete reflections. If you can get silent while you're looking at some reflections, it'll completely shatter your sense of reality because your whole system goes into it doesn't understand. It doesn't know what's happening. It takes it as an actual thing, which it is an actual thing. It's actually more powerful, right? So if you can learn to look at the shadow instead of the tree, then the shadow becomes alive and the tree becomes the shadow. And then the world, you start to watch ravens fly along the red rocks, like in Sedona, and you're only tracking the shadow. And you start to move into these very altered states of perception where that world becomes more alive somehow.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And you said the word pattern interrupt. So, like to me, it's one of the most essential features. People always say, "Oh, there was one of my students, love her, God bless her. She's like, "Oh, I started standing up to do the release work, and now I'm having these massive breakthroughs." And I said, "That's fantastic and good for you. And here's probably why, because it cuts that sit down and release expectation that your system already has."
Sure.
Yeah, yeah. So anyway, my life is full of ways to invent those pattern interrupts, and as it
Yep.
turns out, life invents those for me too. So no shortage.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah, very good. Thank you very much, Matt. I appreciate that. And you're sorry for my accidents. You have an impossible fear of water, like drinking rain shower, ocean stream, all water. Don't touch it. I've been a surfer and a water person up until this relationship. Interesting. Yeah, my son has a fear of water too. I think it's a bath incident when he
Mm.
was a baby. And I don't know if there's anything you'd like to say about that.
Mm. I mean, these are, yeah, the challenges that we face are personal to, like, parallel lives too sometimes, where
Mm,
something's going on in another lifetime that's associated, and it can be really incredible to slowly, carefully, eventually be able to face these things in a way that's sustainable. But it's okay to navigate our life carefully and avoid certain things until we're ready, but we can heal energetic. If we can heal our electricity, then we can handle anything. And
mm.
so eventually it's just being honest about how to get to the place where we can do that. And then these things that we have paranoia around can end up being the very thing that leads to our ultimate healing, because we finally are able to integrate.
Very nice. I like how you're emphasizing to go slow.
Yeah.
I recently went into a detox process in the last 14, now 15 months. And I brought all my indoctrination with it about like go hard and, go fast and make up for lost time and all this kind of stuff. Well, I got my ass kicked
Yeah.
process, right? And it's taken this long to come to a really good pace for myself where I know I am definitely detoxing, but I'm not hurting myself and setting myself back every 10 minutes.
Good. Yeah. Oh, I
Yeah.
know. Having a realistic strategy is critical.
Yeah. Yeah. And as far as healing the electricity, do you want to say more about that?
I mean, that's why grounding is so critical, that we're meant to be grounded electrically to the mother. And she's a real being, and she's an electrical field. They call it the earth matrix. There's many, many visions that she can help you go and be a part of and have the most miraculous experience as a dreamer. But we would get really injured if we didn't heal our electricity, because the jolts that happen are too intense unless you've dealt with any circuit issues. Everything's got to be like precise, otherwise it would be overwhelming, right? So people go do vipassanas and they have something happen that they weren't prepared for, because they forced themselves to stay sitting for so long that something, it's sort of like the energy's forced to do something because you're not moving your body. And that can be amazing. Because for some people, they end up on psych meds the rest of their life. So there's so many tricky challenges that come with being honest about what a practical way is. And we are just electrical creatures, and there's dirty electricity, and then there's clean electricity. And in order to have clean electricity running, we're going to have to clean up our lives. And that's what kind of information are you tapping into? What kind of people are you hanging out with? Where is your attention focused on? And how are you going to get strong enough to feel the depths of all the unresolved feelings that are stored in your field? So you want to do the practical work to get strong enough physically and energetically to be able to be a healthy processor. So it's like a computer or laptop is a processor. We created something that kind of represents us. And in order to clean our files out so that the computer can run functionally, that's where all of our heavy stories, inventory, fears, descriptions of the world, all that inventory is too heavy and it takes up too much memory. And so our computers aren't working well until we clear that memory. And that's where the recapitulation is the next stage to when people really understand what that is. Then you can basically remove the baggage you've been carrying your whole life and put it in a trash bin that will actually, be able to exit out the processor.
Nice. I love the computer, if it's just an analogy or a metaphor, but it works. And it's like you said, we invented the computer as a projection of what's going on for us. So yeah, it works shockingly well.
Yeah.
You go to delete a file and your computer goes, "Are you sure?"
Yeah.
You're like, "Yep, I'm sure." You have to give it the absolute okay.
Totally.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's amazing. Yeah, and ending up on psych meds. I studied in India. Maybe I'll talk about it more on Monday when we meet again. And at times there were people running naked down the road in the mountains because they would call them Kundalini cases.
Yeah,
And they had a blowout, and that's all electricity.
it is. Oh, so intense.
Yeah, yeah, I know. It's really again. Do you feel it's a kind of razor's edge to walk, or is it not like that for you?
Yeah, I mean, it is because we could easily, move into a state of awareness in which we're no longer capable of relating to our fellow man, and we need to be able to. That's why the Toltecs emphasize controlled folly, that you realize that everybody's operating out of a default program, that they're all under hypnosis, and you learn how to be an actor or an actress so that people don't realize that you're no longer separate from that. That way you don't scare people. You can get in and out of situations without triggering people. You wear a lightweight mask instead of wear the constant heavy social mask of your, Joel Schaefer or whatever. It's like we have to take that one off, and that's an uncomfortable thing to do. But it happened through your journey of disease, and then having to face the social aspect of that. You end up having to get authentic and remove that mask in order to properly deal with the emotions that led to that disease. Most people don't have catalysts of that nature that forces them to do something of that, so it's the ego death it's no joke, but it's a critical necessity in order to become liberated enough to be able to make use of this place here outside of the default program.
Right, right. But when you talk about catalysts that force them, say me getting sick or people having an accident or something, loss, it's really hardwired into our existence here. Do you think that that's required? That they must like they and there's probably a difference between what's likely to happen and and then what's possible. But do you think that we require these catalysts to force us, or could the work be purely chosen?
Yeah, I believe that, the reason I'm really returned to the Castaneda material is I think that it offers a way for anyone without needing a guru. And eventually the books, you don't even need the books once you've read them and you've understood what was being suggested. So I think the reason Don Juan had Carlos write books is because he knew there would come a time where this knowledge would be needed and that people could access this stuff and really make use of it as a means to, free themselves without having to have some sort of extreme event that forces it. So I agree. I think it's very possible, but there's a limiting storyline that comes in to each individual that will try to challenge that, because the way these predator energies do things is they blitz you with story and fear and limitation. And so you might start down the path of working with the books and starting to open up, and then it's going to try to bitch slap you really hard to make sure you get scared and quit pursuing something that could really work.
Exactly. Yeah, I had that direct experience in Nepal.
Mm-hmm.
I love that about the putting on the lightweight mask. That was something that Lester Levinson, after he had his awakening experience, he claims to have let go of all of what is not love in him. And I didn't know him personally. I didn't meet him. And I don't think he was flawless because of that, but that's not necessarily the thing. And he would say that people were like so mystified and downright terrified in the 1950s, right before this. Now this is almost a normal subject for us to have in public here, but at that time, he could just do things, he could just manifest things, he could just this and that. Probably talk about manifesting a bit in a while too, but he would say that after the programming is gone, then you use the programming as a way to exactly what you said, to interact.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, and then everything becomes fascinating all the time. Like, you don't mind going and working a job that would normally be boring and draining because you've become psychedelic so much that everything is fascinating. And then those human to human interactions teach you how to become a more and more sensitive to what you're interacting with. So the people teach you how to be like them. They're teaching you different positions of perception that you get to borrow from and try on. And it's like a healthy chameleon, where in the past I was an unhealthy chameleon. I was just being absorbed by their perception of the world, because I was like very much a follower as far as like cults and like wanting to learn and understand. So people that were powerful would pull me into their way of perceiving the world, and I was just like a sponge. But then when I became my own person, I was able to benefit from having been a chameleon in the past, but use that skill set in a way that healed me instead of wounded me. So there's all these different stages to this stuff. But when you truly remove your social mask, there's a vulnerable time there in which you might find yourself in a cult, because you're looking to somebody to keep your reality intact, because your reality is not intact. And then you eventually, hopefully, can, heal from that. But that's all really difficult, tricky terrain to just realize that hypnosis is in every situation. It's across the board, in the truth world, in the health world, in the shaman world. It's all different versions of very unhealthy codependent sort of interactions with trying to be like somebody else and then putting them on a pedestal. And so it's very lonely and scary to spend the proper amount of time alone in order to reset all that stuff. But if you do, then the universe will gift you with all these incredible people on the other side of it. So it's worth having the healthy boundaries in which you're really clear on your yeses and nos. And then eventually the world will send you all these yeses. But you got to say no quite a bit in order to be rewarded with the yes, typically.
Yeah, very nice. I like that phrase, healthy chameleon. I could use that in the bank.
Yeah.
When I go to institutions that challenge my rebel nature, and it's my measure. I heard you say that some of your teachers would hire a tyrant, or they would go and work for a tyrant to bring up their stuff. All I have to do is go into normal public, because My life has become a really beautiful place of my own making, and that's fantastic. We should all have that. But it's the outside world that makes me see who I am. Yeah, if I can walk into a bank and not make anybody feel bad or not make a scene and not sing out loud when I get stressed or, like it's just really comical. My poor son, he's seen all the worst of that, of me.
Totally.
Yeah. Um, oh man, so many good subjects to cover. I wanted to talk about, you said parallel lives and that you're not as down, or the Toltecs don't talk about reincarnation so much as parallel lives. Do you want to explain the difference between those two, if there is?
Yeah, so Toltecs end up being able to dream really powerful dreams in which they control their dreams and can go into deeper layers, what we call dreaming gates. Certain types of control leads to being able to go from one threshold to another, and eventually you can encounter your parallel life or many. And that's a real boost of energy for that to happen. It can also happen through scrying in the mirror, but you want to gain access to these other parts of you that are out there. And shamans say that if you go backwards through the stream of consciousness to that which is projecting this avatar, it's projecting many avatars, and they're all parallel. They're all happening at the same time. So when I die, if I do not get to enter into the afterlife with my awareness intact and I recycle again, I'll probably end up in like the 1580, like go back into another life that was happening at a different time. It's not going to be like, if I died in 2025, it's not like I would show up again in 2026 necessarily. I could, and that does happen, but they're all happening at the same time because this place isn't actually linear and it's not actually physical. And it's really hard to find that out because it's like having the carpet pulled out from under you to realize this is not a physical linear experience. It's so much more magical than that. But we do want to be able to work within the linear and the physical as a means to make use of it and not end up schizophrenic by trying to stay away from it. It's a very difficult tightrope to walk, is to be able to access these other worlds, access your parallel lives without, like, I had a friend take LSD after being in prison, and he took a lot, and all of a sudden he's got an English accent and he's talking about his family. And he's totally just in his parallel being, and he stayed that way for like 2.5 days. And it was fascinating, but it's super dangerous. So there are so many things that can happen, and we want to just be realistic about this stuff and realize most people that are locked up for being mentally ill are just having things that could be explained by shamans really easily. And so we're in a tricky world trying to figure out a way to be able to access what shamans access without, getting locked up for it.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's not hard to define that as crazy.
Right.
And there is a certain crazy in it that, again, back to the razor's edge of it, the also the image of the Indian god Hanuman is straddling the worlds, right? Like he's symbolic of the splits. Like how extended could you be? And you say that it's a blessing to discover other parallel versions of yourself.
Yeah, if you're ready, it would be cause total confusion to have it happen if you weren't on a path of knowledge in which you were energetically trained and prepared to encounter these things. So Toltec say that if a man or a woman were to learn to see energy without becoming a warrior first, they would become meek in the face of the unknown. And I saw that happen with a friend of mine. He wasn't strong enough to be doing the type of dreaming he was doing. He hadn't built up his physical body strong enough. He didn't just have the oomph that it takes as a man to be able to do this work. Women, it's a totally different type of energy that they need in order to handle this work. Women are more likely to go batshit crazy in this work than men because women are so powerful. Their perception can go so far, so quick, right? So men are more likely to become delusional around grandeur and create a cult, and women are more likely to go into their witch so far that they, lose sense of reality and they become dysfunctional and rely on a man to help them because of it. So it's a very difficult thing to balance the inner marriage of the masculine and the feminine as an individual, and also show up in a relationship that could be potentially healing for being able to be vulnerable enough to get to know those parts. So that's where a lot of work is, I think, going to need to go, is into the relationship world instead of the shamanic, because that's where the shadow work is more prevalent. And that's why shamans avoid relationships, is because it's so difficult. And so, but that's what my elder said, is that there's two tribes, the tribe of man and the tribe of woman. If those two tribes could learn to work together, then we could actually do incredible things with this place. But right now, we're just easily controllable and manipulated because of the divisions that are so easily manipulated. But yeah, it's a whole subject in itself, is just to go into all the different ways in which we could get really honest about the dangers of parallel lives, the dangers of psychedelics, the dangers of cults and shamans. There's plenty of powerful shamans. You don't want to just go looking for random shamans. There's so many people with their power. But the parallel life thing is real, and it's important to be able to just understand that you don't get another shot at this. You want to treat this life as the one, because they're all strung together. So if you can liberate your life this time, all your parallel lives will benefit. It's all connected. And so we're all one. And therefore, the 100th monkey thing is real. Therefore, the only work there is to do is to quit trying to save people. Quit trying to stop or change what's going on, at the bank. Stop being offended at the way this place functions. And then you'll be going inward and become a powerful battery. You'll become a lighthouse, and more people will then be able to do the same because you gave them permission through modeling it.
Oh my goodness, so many things in there. The very last point about being offended, that's like priceless, absolutely priceless. The level, there's so many things. I was just kind of taking inventory, giving myself a pat on the back about things I'm not offended by anymore.
Yeah.
And it's a miraculous freedom in that people can do this and they can do that and they can say these things, and then you go, and then there's that little dig, right? I thought I had healed from an experience of loss and getting taken advantage of and lied to and stuff like that. And I really cleaned up big time on that. I felt so free until there was this like next iteration. And, I saw this thing and they're probably using my money to do it. And there's like, and then, new level of little, grind on the offended part. So
Yep.
it's, yeah. So come a long way, lots of work to do. You talked about the cults, the misuse of power. You want to go deeper into that, and then maybe how it even intersects with the psychedelia that I know is not necessarily drug dependent? I love that you're not pushing that on people, right? That it's a thing. So I don't know where you want to
Yeah, totally. I mean, everything's a cult, and there's different versions of cults, right? So it's a matter of just realizing that, and then being okay. Like I knew I was in these cults, but I was there for a reason. I was guided to go in there and learn from these people on like how not to be. And I also got to be in the presence of people who were extremely altered, and that rubbed off, and I learned how to be altered too all the time, there's an advantage to that, learning how to be in heightened awareness. So I don't mind learning from people, even ones that I know are not being honest with themselves and others, because I get shown that I need to be in their presence for a period of time. But I'm not recommending people try to do what I did. You kind of have to be innocent and ignorant enough to be in there in the first place, mixed with some guidance. So I can't go recreate that same thing anymore because I know better. But I'm able to expose people now, right? I can see through their story, and I can see what's energetically occurring in their relationship. So I'm a threat to their secret. And so that's a difficult position to be in. Just the fact that I'm a mirror, they see me seeing them, and they don't want that reflection. So I'm pretty strategic and careful about the kind of places and people I introduce myself to. Cults are it's just an energetic fact that every group, once it gets to a large enough size, something shows up to cause a lot of havoc in all kinds of ways, and everyone is vulnerable. And so it's something to really think about. And they talk about it in reality transurfing. They call them pendulums. It's because human mass is such a powerful thing that if enough people could get together and be synchronized and focused on one thing at a time, incredible potential exists there. But instead, that happens at football games and rock concerts, and all that energy gets given to the idol instead of being distributed to everyone in the way that it would ideally be done. And then there's all these energies that show up and feed off of everybody that are not human, and we just keep being harvested in ways that are really thorough. And so this is, no matter what we do, there is an energetic response by these non-human forces that are trying to make sure that we remain in the slaughterhouse, being fed off slowly instead of realizing how powerful we are. And if we could get enough people together to offset that hypnosis, it would have such a big boost. And so as those groups start to get big enough and strong enough, they send in something to destroy it, and it usually works. I think the Mayans were able to walk right out of this world and go into another layer of the onion and stay there. And I think that's something we should learn how to do, because we might not be able to really stand our ground here, because it's so difficult. They've thought of everything almost.
And so walking out of this realm, what would be, so right away, and this isn't to challenge you, and it's probably going to be a word thing, but so one of the psyops about this realm is that we need to escape this realm. And so how can you do that differently? Is it just a matter of motive, that learning to walk out of this realm rather from fear, but out of love? Is that?
Yeah, it's just going into a deeper layer of the mother. It's not escapism. It's
Okay.
just like this really beautiful reclaiming of what we are. We're travelers. We're not meant to remain in one vision. You and I are having a collective vision right now, but we've taken it for granted, and we think this is the only functioning vision, but it's just one of many. And the only way to go into those other visions is to save enough dreaming energy, and ideally done with a large enough group that you can go all together and visit these places, come back, visit some more, and eventually you could create a home over there in these other places and go be there. And it's really beautiful. It's not trying to get out of here. This isn't a soul trap. This is just an obstacle course that's designed for evolutionary awareness, and people that are trying to escape are missing the point. This is the training ground. This is where your soul is meant to be as a means to develop itself. And it's a platform in which, like a launch pad, in which you could blast off into other worlds from here. So why would you want to escape a launch pad that could take you into all these magical places? That's ridiculous. And yet that's how we're designed, is to like complain, to be at odds with things, to turn it into a doom and gloom scenario. It's not really.
Yeah, that's the harm in a way of Gnosticism, or at least how I understand it, that it's they've set us up, we're trapped in this realm, and we got the archons controlling us, and we have to, somehow not come back to earth. Don't go in the light. They're saying don't go in the light and you die. And stuff like that. So yeah, I like how there's, there's a certain amount of truth in there, but what you're saying is I think much more closer to reality.
Mhm.
I also heard you say the word focus, and in one of your interviews, I heard you say that focus is better than meditation. Do you want to talk about that? And I have to turn some lights on because it's getting dark here. So forgive me for just a minute,
Yeah.
and you can talk, and I'm right here, but I'll be right back.
Yeah. One of my elder would also say that instead of meditate, focus, because meditation is sort of this like expecting there to just be this nothing or to just like kind of open. But if you were to follow a feeling that you really enjoyed that was abstract and stay focused on it, that would be an even more profound breakthrough. So it's this like engaging in a very directed way with the feelings that you want to stay with. And so when I'm recapitulating and I'm back in these like really beautiful memories, it's healing just to be in that memory because it was so magical for me. But there's this default autopilot program that tries to pull me out and go pick up my phone or go do something other than what I was just experiencing because it doesn't want me to stay there and truly gain the benefit of the secret of just stay focused, stay on point. Don't exit that incredible moment. You don't have to. But we tend to, just not be able to develop that staying power. But if you can reclaim your attention, then you'll be able to focus. The reason we teach the shamanic movements is they do something very strange that makes it possible to focus in a way that you couldn't before, and then you can properly recapitulate and actually get some work done in your past. And I don't mean dwell in your past. You don't wanna hang out. You don't wanna miss out on the present moment. This is constantly psychedelic. So it's this time that you spend throughout your day, week, month, or whatever, where you're picking up the luminosity that you left in these experiences of the past. And instead of going into the past, you actually bring the past to the present. So you're still feeling your present experience, but you've brought forward this feeling and you're revisiting it and you're claiming you're picking up the luminosity that you left in that moment and you're exhaling anything that wasn't yours. And it's just a way of cleaning your temple, your energetic temple. And it really works once you get the breakthrough, but it doesn't work to try to recapitulate unless you have very strong focus. And so you might get frustrated, and that's why I try to get people just do the movements. Don't even try to recapitulate. Let the movements eventually get you into that because a moving meditation is so much easier than trying to just meditate without moving your body. But if you're constantly like in this, where your hands are moving and you're redirecting energy and you're engaging in these very strange behaviors that break up the stagnant energy of your field, then you lend them to your organs, and then your organs have secondary functions and they start to become online. And that's how you heal electricity. The way I teach it is just doing the movements over and over until you have the breakthroughs. And then eventually your body will be able to focus and you can go much deeper on your path.
Very nice. Yeah, so the meditation, I meditated for a lot of years, and really seriously, I was very, very, diligent at it. But I had a wrong paradigm because I ended up sick with a stage 4 lymphoma doing it,
Yeah.
right? And that, I think that comes back to that desire to escape, using the meditation as a way to escape
Yeah.
rather than to focus and go deeper within. So,
A lot of people that are on spiritual paths where the focus is ascending, they start to die,
right. Thank you.
right? We're meant to be here. We're meant to go actually into the earth and learn to anchor to her and be like a tree that's totally connected. We're meant to experience, the dissension into those deep areas that are typically avoided. That's why all these celibate people that are avoiding their shadow stuff, because they're just pretending that they're past that. it doesn't work that way. That you're repressing energy that needs to be understood and worked with. There's material there. It's messy business being a human, but we can't skip the mess.
Yeah, as it turns out, we can't skip the mess. There's another good soundbite. Bring on the mess.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's see where we're at. What would you say is the difference between, if any, a dream and a vision?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're very hard to differentiate. I think more a vision is like the reason people vision quest is to be given, shown something, specific that is in the realm of real guidance. So that's a type of vision where like God gives you meaning and purpose, and you're like, oh my God, I get it. Like I know why I'm here now. And that's a beautiful thing to have happen. Where a dream is more like an interactive world in which subconscious material is being surfaced based on different energetic interdimensional beings that are observing you and pretending to be your aunt and uncle. And that's the world of dreams, where there's a lot more shared experience, but you can have a real personal vision come in, and you cross into this layer of the onion where the mother is able to speak directly to you. And that's a type of communication. So dreaming is communication, so is vision. They both are in that same category, but they're very different in how they present. And then as far as being in a collective vision, we're all having a vision quest in which we're all having a vision together, in which we all are assuming that it's just a base reality, and it has become base reality, but it's still a vision. And we need to know that in order to not be tricked into thinking it's an actual physical world that will hijack our ability to unbind from the physical and do the things that really liberate us as travelers. And so even though Carlos went into all these worlds, he would say that the greatest gift of all is just being present here in this dream. And so we do want the capacity to take off and experience these other layers, but we want to mostly be able to be silent and just simply observe right here where we are, and allow all the emotional waves to move through us that will allow us to truly, purify, because it's through really vulnerable emotional pain that the wisdom comes. Toltec say wisdom comes painfully and in driblets. And so people want to read books and become wise, but you're going to have to go through the things, right? And as you said earlier, the challenges actually increase as you get stronger. So you're not ever going to reach easy street. And materialism is a trap. So there's no way to purchase your way into well-being. The money is an illusion. It's a false sense of security that keeps people from doing the work.
Yep.
So this is a really tricky place.
You got it. One of my trainers in the past, he said that he had some billionaires as clients who sold yachts, or one guy sold yachts. And he could not get him to feel his programs because he literally felt invulnerable because of all that cash.
I know. Yeah, it's a very powerful thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's really, and you don't get to take it with you either, but therefore, so like all the experiences, like on some deep level, they crave to have it all taken away so they can have a real experience.
Right.
But they can't admit to that because it's become this identity of power. And so power is a real thing, and it's very seductive.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And survival, right? You said that death is the teacher, or so. How do you phrase it so beautifully?
Yeah, life is the arena and death is the player.
Life is the arena, and death is the player. Yeah, do you want to go deep on that?
Yeah, death is an advisor, they say, and it's the only one that'll be honest with you. And it's very hard to find people who are truly living aware that they're going to die. Right? That's what Toltec say, is the difference between us and others is that we are beings that are going to die. And so they don't waste a moment. They are engaging with that awareness. And in a way, every moment is your last moment. Because when your life flashes through your eyes when you die, it's all equal. Like, it's just all the same. So this is my last moment right here with you. It's not linear. And so I choose to be here. I'm not doing this to people please because you asked me to, or I follow my signs and omens. I don't do things. I'm very careful with my time and energy because I'm aware that I only get so much of it. And I want to do the things that really are truly going to make me feel alive, not just some intellectual idea of evolution. I can't follow a book or a religion in order to be free. I have to become uniquely capable of knowing what I as an individual need in order to make the most of my time here. And so I'm not a holy person. I chase music and go out and work with tequila and mushroom and cannabis and go into other worlds with really amazing people, and I don't live by any projected fears of what spiritual people are supposed to do. And therefore I get rewarded because I'm not, in a limitation. That doesn't mean I'll always work with substances. I'm able to do even cooler stuff without them, but I just don't want people to get caught in these projected judgments of limitation about how or what our life is supposed to be like, because then you won't be spontaneous and magically engaging with this place. Like, music's never been better for me. Like, the bands that I follow are brand new and just amazing, and this world is amazing. And I love woke cities and all the best food and all the craziest things to observe. Like, none of it's negative to me. Therefore, I have a lot of freedom to explore. And I want that for everybody. I want them to come out of any contracted states of spiritual projections that are limiting them from getting to know their power. And it's not an easy tightrope to walk. But once you figure this out, that's where like the GNM thing can be really helpful. I don't think it's completely accurate, but we are powerful enough that if we become energetically liberated, then we aren't going to be easily poisoned the way others are, because we've built our luminosity up and our perception of reality is magical and not contracted.
Nice. I like that. In India, they would talk about the energy of sattva, rajas, and tamas. Three qualities being light is sattva, more in alignment with the truth, and then rajas being action, and tamas being kind of like inertia. And so as yogis, you want to be sattvic, you want to be full of light, and you want to be enlightened and seen as enlightened and act enlightened, and you don't hang around with unenlightened people and all that kind of thing. So it's a beautiful that, and they are, you could say, more stuck than people who are just honestly in inertia,
Yeah.
right?
So,
Then yeah, and it's very unpleasant to be around them, actually. Everyone knows, and it can be a lot of pride in the process of becoming so good. So yeah, beautiful. I love your trajectory overall. Let me see where I would like to go. If there's any questions that I've missed in the chat, by the way, I apologize for not paying a lot of attention to the chat, because I'm just hanging on the words, trying to stay lucid with all of this very deep knowledge. How have you yourself evolved over your lifetime? What have you seen that, because your life can be something of an example, not necessarily a map for others, but just to see, that you didn't show up like this. I'm assuming, or I mean, I've already seen transformation in a short time. Do you want to tell people what you've come through and been through? Maybe this could have been the first question. We'll make it towards the end.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I left the world, I really left it. And I had all these friends. I was popular. I was very smart in school. I was good athlete. And I chose to do something that I sensed was more real than what I thought was. I kind of saw through stuff at a young age, and when I found somebody that could take me into these other layers, when I was 13 at first, and then 16, I just I went in that direction really boldly. The first time I took LSD, I was 13, and when it hit me, I was like, oh, this is how we're meant to live. We're meant to be in heightened awareness. We're not meant to be just like in our minds. And so I came out of my mind and into like a more feeling capacity. And I really was pretty aggressive with working with mushrooms and LSD at a young age, because I sensed that I just had a sense that that would be helpful for me. But it's not like I recommend that some 13 or 16-year-old start doing that. Like it's a really tricky formula that I gained access to, that I ended up making it work, but it wasn't easy. It was really dangerous, and I almost got in real trouble energetically. I had attachments. I had things that are not easy to recover from. I, was in and out of many cults because of my willingness to learn and unlearn. It makes me really vulnerable to powerful people that misuse their power, which is what happened to me. Um, So I'm lucky to be okay. But because of, having gone into the woods with a backpack of 80 pounds and just staying out there, and going through such a strange relationship with survival, like trying to actually put yourself in a situation where you had to trust the universe in ways that most people don't know. Like, I would hitchhike to a new town without any money, and start over, and it would always work perfectly. It would be challenging experiences that I'd have to walk through in order for that breakthrough. But this place is incredible, and it will take care of you as long as you're willing to do whatever it takes to be okay. And that's what I learned the most, is that this place is responding to your intent. It's a magical realm. It's a world of power. And if you step into your power, it will respond to your power. But if you are acting small and, you know, in a place in which you don't believe in yourself, or and you don't have trust in your personal power at all, then the world will reflect that to you, and it just gets more and more terrifying. And so I really try to help people to realize when they've been enabled, that it's weakened them. I've met with a lot of women who have been enabled by men, and then they don't have their masculine intact, and then they get ill because they were not they were trying to use their masculine in areas where it wasn't beneficial, and then they were avoiding the areas of developing their masculine where it would have been energetically the very thing they need in order to be electrically repaired. So it's so uncomfortable to work with people that can help you see where the holes in your consciousness lie. But that's what kind of courage it takes. And so I've been working with teachers my whole life. And if I would have waited to find teachers that were perfect in order to work with them, I never would have found anyone. So I was able to take the parts that they had dialed in and work with just that part and disregard the other things. And then I've worked with so many teachers that I've, been so thankful for all the areas in which they are gifted. But I learned just as much from the areas in which they were self-deceptive to themselves too. So kind of have to go out and get beat up in this world in order to have the experiences, that we do get to take our experiences with us. That's the cool part, is that we are evolving, and it's through our memory that our evolution is determined. And so that's why Toltecs recapitulate, is if they can purify that memory system, then they will be able to give that force that normally consumes awareness at death. They give it a replica of their life experiences through the completion of the recapitulation. And then that force, rather than consume your memories, will take that replica and then let you go into what they call the third attention, which is where the first and second attention meet, where you can have where you jump from vision to vision, and vision, like you get to become a traveler again naturally, transition from this physical form into an energetic inorganic being. So inorganic beings aren't bad. There's different kinds, and eventually we're going to become inorganic beings. We leave this physical form and we go into these other places, and there's alternative ways of dying. And I'm going to do my work in order to have a really magnificent crossing. And it's going to be, my death is going to have to come at me really, really hard, because I'm going to become really strong. And that's really simple. If you just really tap into the simplicity of that, then energetically you'll know what kind of internal power training you need in order to feel strong enough to say that.
Wow, good on you. That's amazing. Yeah, so good. When it comes to, say, like the difference, this is something I just wanted to point out. I've noticed it for myself. I'm curious what you would say around that say plant created state versus the one that you create yourself. You're calling it heightened awareness. Do you consider every psychedelic experience to be heightened awareness, or is there, just to start, are there ones that like actually are more like a bag on your head and stop you from seeing?
Yeah, I mean, I think heightened awareness is something that's separate from power plants, but they typically are, they will move what we call the assemblage point, which will reveal other states of perception which are separate from the original state, which therefore are considered heightened just because you're getting a different angle.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah, that was the fun of doing inversions in yoga. I kind of left the yoga behind, because just like seeing the world upside down is like, oh wow, this is really different. Walking backwards is the same kind of thing. Yes, I like that. You got so many words to things that you often don't have words for. So the psychedelics, I've noticed there is a pretty high cost to them, even if just physically, because the reason you get an altered state from them is because it's poisoning you. Right, that's what psilocybin does. It's literally harm to the liver, and so then, but is it for you? Is it a matter of that? Is the juice worth the squeeze or not?
Yeah, I mean, I'm, I don't expect to live forever, and I'm very much open to all the different feelings of, what feels like the necessary thing to do with my time. And the power plants, the price that they pay is untold. It's hard to see. It's on the energetic side. It could very much save your life, as well as it could take your life, depending on the way in which you work with it. So I think it's a really delicate thing, and it's personal to each person. I used to say, if you're afraid of taking them, then you probably should. And if you're not, then you don't need to. But now I'm more, with each person, I just try to help them understand that we only have so much time here. And yet we get to slow this all down with intensity and like give ourselves as much runway as we need to take off. And if you try to take off in a plane without giving it enough runway, you're probably going to crash and burn. But if you're really listening and you're slowing down the process and you learn how to fly and all that, then you can have a really miraculous healing, say with a big macro dose that could completely change the trajectory of your life so that you are able to properly heal. But you paid a price for that experience, but it's so worth it when it plays out that way. So I want everyone to try to get their intuition is dialed in, so that they're not in a rule-based fixed fear around any of it. And then this question, then how to do psychedelics in a safe way. I mean, to me, has to do with becoming so in love with your existence that you're doing them out of love. You're showing up, you're putting them in your hands, and you're asking, do I really want to do this? And getting to know the part of you that is like your future self. Because I think this has all already happened. We're like in a memory, and there's some rigidity to that there's only so much we can do with the contract we're in, but there's a way to become liberated within that rigidity. And so if I could slip off into another layer of the onion this evening on psilocybin, and I have a profound moment here in Sedona that takes me to such a deeper place of silence than I've ever been, that I'm able to then, permanently be in that state for the rest of my life, that would be really worth it. But it's not necessary. I could do that other ways, and I'm open to all ways. And but shamans recommend, like, don't ever touch cocaine, and like there's certain things to not do because of how detrimental they are. But in South Africa, the Sangomos, the way they reach heightened awareness is they use alcohol and cannabis in large amounts, and they have to trance dance and keep taking it in order to pass the test of being able to be more powerful than the poison.
Wow.
So as long as you're staying in that trance stance, it won't matter how much you consume, but it takes a real shaman to be able to do what I'm saying. So I just try to help people figure out their limitations and understand how to rewild and not get caught in some sort of comfy religious sort of dogma, because there's no real way to test yourself unless you're coming out of all the stories that aren't necessarily true. The real truths happen on deeper levels that aren't rule based.
Right. And we always want the answer. Are psychedelics good or are psychedelics bad? Right. And it's just not like that. Yeah. And it's so much, even in the context of the moment and the time, there have been times of my life where I have really used them as teachers. I received a great deal of lessons. And then I realized, oh, now I need to actually go learn this for real and do this and implement it and show I've learned, not just keep hearing. At some point there was a repeat message, and it's like, okay, I got it.
Yeah.
I don't need to go back to the grandmothers for that for a while. Yeah.
Most people don't integrate. They just keep going back to the ayahuasca stuff. They're just going
Right.
back and going back, and that they're just getting opened up into these areas they're not prepared for. And the shamans don't care. Shamans are like, I don't care what you guys do, because they're in the middle of their spiritual battles with their other neighboring villages, and they're throwing energy darts at them, and they're using those people in those ceremonies to buffer them. And it's crazy how intense all that is, and that nobody's really addressing the dark side of all of it.
Exactly. Are we kind of caught in the crossfire? There was a question here. Do the inorganic beings control this planet, in your opinion?
I mean, we're definitely in a construct. It's a construct, and they are the reason why we built civilizations, and we stopped being, nomadic and directly connected to source. And so we become harvested and domesticated. Therefore, that's being controlled. But that doesn't mean that we don't have the capacity as individuals to stop feeding these forces and become independent from them. And that's what Toltecs teach, is how to change your energetics so that these predators no longer find your energy palatable.
Nice. Yeah, you taste bad. The good things taste bad. Yeah. I love that. So good. Let's see where we could go. I love how you talk about time is measured in intensity. I literally almost jumped up and down for joy when I heard that. Let's say I've had a long life.
It's so cool. Once you discover that, then you get to slow everything down intentionally. Intensity, when you can hang out in silence for long periods of time, so much is felt and so much runs through your chakra system. And that's what intensity is the processing of all these feelings. And so, shamans learn how to have ecstatic moments quite often, because lucid dreaming is ecstatic. Spinning in a circle really fast for long periods of time will unlock doors, and it will heal your chakra line. It makes sure the vortex is spinning healthfully. I do all kinds of incredible things with my time, that make it possible for me to, be more and more capable of more and more intensity, right? And so, sexually, everything gets more powerful. Adventures, listening to music, dancing, um, being in my own field. Like, people come up to me at music and they're like, "How are you so in your own world?" Because I'm not paying attention to who's looking at who or who's thinking what. I'm deep, and that ability I want everyone to have, because you can tell everyone's caught in comparing themselves and reflecting, and I wonder if they're looking at me, and all that stuff just is so hard to come out of. But once you do, it's just like, oh, thank God I'm no longer caught in any of that stuff, because it's a total hijack. So I like to walk in large cities amongst large crowds, and I'm not looking at anyone. Everything's just energy. I'm just cutting through the crowd, like almost like I'm a fish in the sea, just going wherever I want. And it's such a unique state of attention to be in. But then you'll start to get pulled out. You'll catch something, and all of a sudden you're looking and you're judging, and then you're looking around and you're back in your judgment of the world, and it all starts to contract. So then you have to, like, oh shit, okay, go back into the trance. And then that's where heightened awareness is. It's like the clarity, the direction, where to turn, which alley to go down and which one not to. You get to live in this very adventurous way of just going out for a walk becomes very psychedelic. So there's so much to that, and I just hope people find that for themselves, because it's a total breakthrough.
That's beautiful. Yeah, I credit you for returning my, I don't know what it is, but just appreciation of the psychedelic nature of life. But it's not like it's been underappreciated in my life either. It's just like kind of renewed through seeing through your eyes. And yeah, it's so many things. We have it as children so
Yeah,
naturally, right? It's all psychedelic to a child.
totally.
And then going back, it often feels like a revisiting of that, or people might call you immature
Yeah.
and those kind of things, but it doesn't really matter. So yeah, silence gives away. What I notice with silence, it's kind of interesting when I have the discipline to go within. Inevitably, it's because there's some downward something happens, I get knocked, I
Sure.
feel hurt, or whatever it is, and
Mhm.
it takes me into the silence, and then the silence takes me into creation
Cool.
as just a natural trajectory, and then it's like there's no time for silence because you've generated so much
Mm.
activity through the silence, and then it'll something will happen and it'll call me back to the silence. And how do you see that wave? Is that just how it works naturally?
Typically, yeah. I think there comes a point though where you fall so deeply in love with silence that you make it a priority to do, regardless of what is going on.
Mhm.
So when shamans are asked what is the secret, they just put their finger to their lips.
Mm.
So there is a way to stop talking to yourself. And it's so intense, because if you go for like a whole 3 seconds without talking to yourself, then the world starts to move. It isn't what it appears to be. You start to go into such deep presence that the illusion starts to fall away. So it's very uncomfortable to go 10 seconds. It's almost impossible. There's just so much pressure on us to stay within this illusion, and the only way this illusion is able to maintain its control is through the internal dialogue. And so, we learn how to go into silence as a means to repair when something happens. And it's a beautiful thing to discover, and everything happens for a reason. And probably the main reason why whatever happened was to get you back into your silence. But at some point, you can force silence. You can be proactive about reaching silence. You could do the magical passes to the point that it's just like, you almost can't not go into silence, because they just start to affect you in a very profound way. And yeah, so I just think it's a dance with, if you're in your thoughts, you might as well have fun with them and be creative and, be inspired and allow that process to be enjoyed. It's not like beat yourself up because you're in your thoughts. The shame and guilt that people go through over this stuff is terrible. It's not necessary. This is going to be really, really difficult and confronting, because they're not even your thoughts. You're like having to turn off something else's thoughts by not giving it the attention. And that takes a really powerful person to be able to kind of turn and face your captor. And that's what Carlos Castaneda said, is we either face our captors when we die or while we're alive.
Hmm.
And we might as well face them now while we can still reclaim our youth. Because if we can get our youthful energy back, our creativity and our imagination, then these things don't have a chance at controlling us.
Nice. I love this stuff. Oh my goodness, it's such food for me. I'm really, really loving it. We won't get through all the questions, I know for a fact.
Actually, I didn't realize I do have a client in 9 minutes.
Okay, good to know. Excellent. Yeah, so it's a natural place. And
Yeah.
maybe if there's an opportunity in the future, we could meet again for a second conversation. I'm thinking to go really deep on the masculine, feminine, if there was a second chance.
Yeah.
So let's see if we're going to just start to wind up really quickly. Is there a message that you feel like humanity should get from you for anyone with ears to hear? Is there something that you can leave us with along those lines?
Oh, I mean, just that invitation to become as authentic and honest with yourself about what you want to do, what you want to feel. It was hard for me to admit what I wanted to feel because I couldn't even give myself permission to imagine it. And so it took a lot of work to just sit inside of my actual desire. What is it that I'm passionate about? What do I want my life to feel like or be like or look like? And what would it feel like if it was all the things that I wanted? And all that was really confronting, but necessary. And it's like creating a vision of what you want to do, and then following the feeling of what that vision is showing you on how to get there. And that's happening for me now, but just a few years ago, it wasn't at all. So I'm so thankful to had that breakthrough. And I was not in a good place. I was in a dysfunctional marriage, all that stuff, but I still was able to transform my life by just stepping into those feelings that I had been avoiding. And it's so worth doing, because we're meant to fall in love with our existence. And I think that the fact that we exist is a miracle in itself. And if we could just see that, then we would take advantage of it and use each day in unique and powerful ways.
Exactly. Yeah. If you're complaining about your life and then a bus nearly runs you down, all of a sudden you're like, "Oh, my life is amazing! Thank you, God!" Like
Yeah.
that, right?
Yeah.
Seen that. And what's the best way for people to reach you? Say they want to take you up on some mentorship or one of your retreats or courses that you have to take. Where do you like to be?
Yeah, I mean, all that information's at joelschaefer.com.
How did I not get your website? Amazing.
And yeah, it's a great way to connect to me. And you can sign up for a free 30-minute consult if you want to do some work that way, but also 90 or 60-minute sessions are available. And yeah, I'm in Sedona right now. We just completed an in-person workshop here over the weekend. It was life-changing. The next one will be on the beach in LA in April, early April. I'll be teaching at Confluence and speaking at Confluence in late April as well. So yeah, lots of ways to connect.
That's amazing. I will see you at Confluence, by the way. So yeah, I already made plans for my son and I to go.
Wonderful.
Yeah. And so here in the chat is the link for his website. And you can also find him on Facebook and Instagram and X as other options. I did share these earlier. So I don't want to keep you because I know you're just going down to the wire here.
Okay.
And but I'm going to stay on for a few minutes. Thank you so much, Joel. This has been just a beautiful I want to say all the words to encounter.
Thank you, Beth. It's really good to meet with you, and I appreciate you having me on. I look forward to learning about you more on the 15th, and we'll be having you on my channel soon with that. So thank you, everyone. Appreciate everyone that tapped into this talk, and appreciate it, Beth. Much love.
Thank you so much.
All right. Take care.
Okay, you're welcome. Bye for now.
Bye.
Oh my goodness, how beautiful was that? We probably could have talked for, I don't know, 10 hours or something like that nonstop. I'm pretty excited I get to meet him in person in April. I think you guys should all come to Confluence. We are going to have a House of Free Will event there, not event, so to speak, but meet up. There's, I think, 3 of us going so far, so that's a pretty good little group. And you're very welcome, Accidental Alchemist. Nice to see you here. And Joel, I missed this one. I'll tell Tommy Hamilton from JRAD you said hello. And you're going to be there. Excellent, Stacy Sunshine. Fantastic. Thank you for that, J Heretico 138. So the way that conversation ended just around visioning, this is very synchronistic. I'm going to go right on the heels of it and talk just for a moment about a new course. So the last time I fell down, if you want to go to Beth of Fresh Air, episode 1, you'll find out how my summer went, the injuries, the knock them down, when am I dealing with entities, interference, or just my own, whatever, it's hard to prove. But it really did flatten me and it stopped things. I was literally handicapped, lost use of my hands. And so I didn't know how to come back from the dead of that. And, lots of healing took place and a lot of praying to God, and how I usually will come from a place like that. My life has given me many experiences similarly. And so I decided to get out and start talking to you guys and have conversations with people in my community and hearing from you where you're at. Give me 1 second. And so what I heard is that people are having a difficult time to vision right now and to put anything out in front of them. And it became this, I've got this little sticker on my desk and it says, how are you supposed to create when you think the world's going to end? And so based on these conversations and getting these direct, I'll say downloads for lack of a better word. I was going to talk downloads with Joel, but we'll get into that some other time. I was able to hear from people that this is what I could assist them with. So I have taken a lot of time and energy to create a course called Creator Code. And this is going deep into the deprogramming process and deep into archetype work, 3 archetypes that are particularly poignant around visioning and creating. I've coined a new archetype called the Alpha Omega, which is beginnings and endings, happens to coincide nicely with the child and the alchemist. The nature of the hero's journey itself as an archetype, as we create through it, what the purpose of that is, how to use deprogramming work to get visioned and to become the visioneer. And I've done this on my whole entire life, and it was one of those like, wow, that's almost too obvious to have created that, but there it is. I had to hear it from you guys. And so what I have done is put together this page. I'm going to share it out. And bye, Stacy Sunshine. Nice to see you. Glad you came. Oh, and that just didn't work at all. Okay, my notes are mad at me. So maybe it's not time to share the link this second. It might be in another second. But what you can do is go to my website, and in fact, there is a link below, I believe, at least to my archetype quiz. So if you go and take 10 minutes to find out where you are on the path of purpose, Joel's going to be doing my quiz. Oh, I forgot to ask him if he did it. Darn it. And then I will send you a link to it. So for anyone that signs up, people are already starting to do that before or by the 15th. I'm offering a 3-month guest membership in the House of Free Will. This is my private membership where we talk. If you think I'm talking, being myself here on these broadcasts, then I am, but it goes deeper in the House of Free Will. There's a lot more. We can just throw off the gauntlet, or, what's the expression? We can just talk freely is what I'm mentioning. So for anyone that signs up for Creator Code by the 15th, then you'll get a guest membership for 3 months to the House of Free Will. So it's been really fun. There's a lot of activity in the law arena that has fallen away because I got so disillusioned by all the fake and gay law out there. Let's see if this works now. Aha. So there's a link to Creator Code, more information. And have a look and see if you want to be part of what I'm calling the maiden voyage. This is going to be a beta run because I've been doing this work for 25 years, but I've never offered this course as in its exact iteration that it is now. So I'm looking for people to help me co-create. That means you'll be giving me feedback along the way. You'll be part of the creative process in that respect. And I'll be making it, well-oiled machine for future visioneers to come. So if you sign up at my website for either the archetype quiz or you go to any place at bethmartins.com, you can leave me a message that you'd like to learn more about this. And I'm making an early bird. It is going to be 50% savings until December 29th. But like I said, for anyone that signs up by the 15th, then it also comes along with a 3-month House of Free Will membership. So I think that is all for now. I also recently revamped a course, and I'm calling it Deprogramming 101 because I realized that people are struggling to hear about this work, but not really having the basic blocks. And I, at this time, hadn't had a beginner course. I always will create everything more advanced first and work my way back. So then this is a newly revamped body of work giving you the basic tools of deprogramming that I think everyone should have for a lot of the reasons that we talked about today. And thank you very much for all the stars and the ohms and the hearts. That's really good. What else was I going to tell you about? You can apply to work with me one-on-one as well if for some reason groups aren't the best place for you to get the inner work done, and that's totally understandable. Some people need to go faster than they can in a group, although there's a certain acceleration in the group as well. And one of the things that I appreciate so much about those that I work with is they organically bond with each other. I don't tell them to do that. I literally have groups that 3 and 4 years after the fact, when I hosted them for a course, they're still meeting every single week since 2022 or 2023 or something like that. It's astonishing almost. I was joking to myself, I could pass from this realm, but the work goes on. And that's like miraculous. So that's one of the major things about Creator Code in particular is going to be about connection and how creation hinges on our ability to work together. Joel reflected that so perfectly today in terms of the community and his vision that he has for people getting together to do the work. So that's really cool. There's a whole lot of other stuff, and I don't necessarily need to go in it all right now, but that's the main highlights. Before I forget, tomorrow I am going to be here for the Beth of Fresh Air show, which is a weekly Friday afternoon, 2 p.m. Central Time, usually solo show. I started a series on cults in particular because I've been in cults and I feel strongly that people should know the signs of being in cults. And like Joel was saying, we're all so porous, or a lot of people are porous, and we want to trust and believe in the goodness of others, but aren't really aware of the interference that's happening. And so tomorrow we're going to talk specifically about the cults of natural health. People don't think of that as a cult, but it's totally a cult. And if you get into discussions with people and start offending them with the facts, then they start saying like, I believe, and I believe, and I believe. And it's like, well, the truth doesn't really depend on anyone's belief at all. So Dagmar Stansova is going to be joining me. She is a member of the House of Free Will. She's been part of many natural health cults. And so we're going to unpack that and go through it and look at all the ins and outs of how they operate, and for sure from my side, how to get out, because we want the truth. You want to, like Joel was saying, treat every moment here to be of the utmost value. And so how do we do that? How do we facilitate enough focus? Part of it is that your vessel is working. it works for you, and it's not constantly dragging your focus somewhere that, you know, you're forced to deal with it. And there's no guarantees, by the way. When people are forced, doesn't mean they do the work. It really doesn't. I've seen this over and over again. Getting, smacked or hit or some scary diagnosis or whatever, it doesn't guarantee. You still have to choose to do the work. So we're going to have a lot of fun with that tomorrow, and you can join us at 2 p.m. Central Time on the Beth of Fresh Air that was named by you guys, who would sometimes message me and say that my live streams are like a breath of fresh air. So that's where that, thank you for that. I appreciate it. And just huge hats off to Joel. We are going to be meeting on Monday to do his podcast. The fun part is that when I originally approached him, I was offering to send my book and would you like to interview me? It took me weeks to realize, oh my goodness, I need to talk to this guy on my podcast and help spread his word out. So I do recommend following him, and who knows, maybe I'm going to take him up on some of that private work, because it's just so good to have mentorship. Doesn't matter how far ahead you are or how much work you've done or how much experience you think you have. It's priceless to have someone to walk with and reflect back to you and all of that kind of thing. So, welcome to Dagmar tomorrow. Yeah, I'm sure I was wondering, or I was sure you were going to be excited about that. So, yep, she's back for this show in particular. All right, my dears, I think that's all for now. So I hope you've had a good experience today like I have. I feel high as a kite now. I don't know about you guys, but I'm definitely in an altered state, which is really fun to explore. And see you tomorrow. Lots of love. I'm going to play us out with something my son wrote. Let's see, I've got a split personality now with 2 shows. And so I think that's it. So much love to you guys. Bye for now.